Hey guys, Josh here with Avalanche Outfitters. Kind of a cold, snowy day here in Redstone. Wish we had this about a week ago, but I guess we'll see how it happens for second rifle. So today I wanted to make a video about coolers and stuff like that, Pannier stuff, getting you guys' stuff in there. A lot of questions about coolers and wanted a little bit more intel on them. So I'm going to jump into it, let you guys know kind of what I use, what I suggest, what does, what doesn't work, stuff like that. So let's get after it. Okay, so right here I've got 3 different coolers sitting here. This one here is a 120 quart Coleman cooler. This cooler here, they're really big. This is what I suggest to put your harvested elk in. This cooler right here, usually you can fit at least 2 boned out quarters, sometimes even 2 unboned quarters in them. So those are good. 2 of those should get you home to be able to put ice in, keep your quarters warm, stuff like that. But they don't go into camp. These are way too big, just because they do not fit in the panniers. I'd have to stand them on edge and stuff, and they just get bulky and everything like that. Okay, next cooler. This is a Kenai 45 quart cooler. And I tell you guys that I run 45 quart coolers. This is a Coleman 45 quart. This Coleman 45 quart is a lot cheaper. It's smaller, it's lighter. These Kenais, Yetis, Arctic, stuff like that. I'm going to tell you guys why they seem nice, but for what we do, they're just not good. And then I'm going to go to these little Rubbermaid tubs that I use. I got a pannier sitting there. I'm going to show you guys how that kind of fits in there, just to give you guys an idea. Okay, so I threw this Rubbermaid tote in this pannier here. As you guys can see, I've got some room on the edges, stuff like that. It's just kind of in there to show you guys so I can measure this. But also, a lot of times what I'll do is with these Rubbermaids is this what I'll put your dry goods in. It just makes it a little bit easier. Put all your granola bars, your snack stuff like that in these. And as you can see, I can still stuff some stuff on the side here. We'll put a lid on this, and then you've kind of got that. So if you want to bring your snacks and stuff in this, if you can take this and match it up to the cooler's weight, then I can put one on each side of the mule, or if I got to kind of adjust it, I can do that. But remember, we're 75 pounds in one of these panniers per side. So 75 pounds on this side, 75 pounds on this side. We have to be even. I have to keep them 75 and 75. Otherwise, bad things happen. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some dimensions on these panniers, okay? Basically, these panniers are about 26 inches wide, okay? That's this way. That goes along the side of the mule. And they stick out roughly, let's just go with 17 or 18 inches. So, like I said, about 26 by about 18 is the area you have, and they are about 24 inches deep. So that's kind of what you can measure your coolers out and stuff if you want to bring your own and stuff like that. Kind of gives you an idea there. Now, this Arctic cooler here that I have, this Arctic cooler is almost 28 inches wide and 16 inches, well, 26 by, or 28 by 16, and it's 17 inches tall. That's great. I mean, I could really, it takes me a little bit, but I can get them in the panniers. The Coleman cooler is a lot smaller. It's roughly 13 inches wide and 23 inches in length. So that would give me extra room on the sides to help put some other stuff in that pannier if I needed to, a sleeping bag, if I needed to, stuff like that. Now let's get down to the weight difference, okay? This Kenai cooler, it's a 45 quart, everything like that. It weighs 28 pounds alone. The Coleman cooler only weighs 11. So when we're talking about that weight right there, 25 pounds in a cooler means you can only put about 50 pounds worth of cold food in it. You know, it doesn't really seem like a lot, but that's, it just takes away from it. And the biggest thing is, I know these coolers, they're bragged about it being, you know, they'll keep cold food colder longer, all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing is, if you guys are coming from a warmer climate, if you don't actually get these coolers cold before you put stuff in them, they actually pull the heat out of the stuff to cool down the insulation. So in my opinion, you're losing a couple inches of, you're getting a little bit bigger of a cooler, but you're losing space inside, okay? When I measure these out, the inside dimensions of the Coleman is I've got 12 by 21, 12 by 22 on the inside. With my Arctic, or my Kenai, I'm getting 11.5 by 22. So even though I've gotten more insulation, I have a lot more weight, and I'm actually losing almost an inch on the inside. So that's one issue. But you know, when we're talking about weight, that's the biggest thing. So packing these things up, I have the Coleman's, and they're Coleman's or they're Rubbermaids. I get them. You can get them at Walmart. They're pretty cheap. You know, I can fit quite a bit of food in them. You know, for 4 guys, that Coleman cooler for their frozen goods, for the first half of the trip, I can usually fit everything in there. Few items, you know, we might pull out, like some guys like to have steaks the first night, but they're usually frozen. We can pull those out and put them in with the dry goods, and they'll start thawing on the way up to camp. So basically, we want to keep that stuff there. You remember, 11-pound cooler plus your food, 75 pounds on one side, all your dry goods. You can bring them in a Rubbermaid tote. I think these are all kind of like the same thing, 45 quart Rubbermaids or Sterilite tubs and stuff like that. Otherwise, I have some extra ones, but that's kind of how I do your food and stuff is cooler on one side, dry goods on the other, and then if I have to put stuff on top of that, if you keep it under the 75 pounds, I can usually fit sleeping bags, smaller stuff, boots, stuff like that in there. So that's just kind of to give you guys an idea of what this stuff's all about when it comes down to packing your food. Like I said in my food video, if you watch that one, if you're bringing frozen stuff and you have pre-cooked it or something like that, flat packaging helps out a ton. If you're bringing eggs, I usually try to put them in the cooler, and then I try to stack some bread or something around it if you have that. Otherwise, you know, your bread, try to put it with your dry goods, put it on top of everything so it doesn't get smashed. But when you guys are here, if you need help doing that stuff, I can help you get that situated. So figured that would help you guys out. The big coolers don't fit as well. The Kenais, the Yetis, the Arctics, they're all good coolers and stuff, but you know, a 45 quart cooler, all that extra insulation, all that extra weight, in my opinion, for how long you're going to be up there, especially if it's going to be snowy and stuff like this, for like second rifle, you know, it doesn't always work. We were just up first rifle with a couple coolers, just the regular Rubbermaid coolers. Our meat, basically, some of it lasted 7 days frozen in those coolers. It was starting to thaw out, but it will last, especially if we bring up more frozen stuff to resupply you, then we're bringing more cold in. So bring your stuff in frozen, have it ready to go. I've got some coolers here that you guys are more than welcome to use. I'll help pack them up for you, but just remember, we're trying to keep under that 75-pound weight limit. That does include the pannier and the cooler. The pannier and the cooler weighs 11 pounds. The pannier weighs about 4.5, 5 pounds. I don't really add the pannier in that often. So, yeah, hope you guys are having a good time, and we'll see some of you guys this season, see a few more the next season, and anybody else. Hope these videos help you.